You're wrong, Jeff.
Always.
You're wrong.
Always
Don't
wrong.
even say it. You're wrong. Doesn't matter what you say. You're wrong. The Guardians walked it off against the A's, but we're still wrong about that.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Guardians, Stick in the Muds, or Locked On Guardians,
You're wrong.
Unaccountable, or Locked On Guardians. Listen, it was a long day for us on Twitter today. Over a 10-second comment we made yesterday, we're going to get into Gavin Williams and why it's logical. We're going to get into the whole pitching situation. We're going to get into that lovely walk-off win Andres Jimenez just hit as we were recording. We were debating going live or not. My internet isn't always strong enough to both stream and stream. So we decided to go this way. I do want to take a moment and say that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. If you're going to get tickets, why not save money? Download the app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Dylan Cruz also had a nice home run, or a cruise missile, as they call it tonight.
Are you sure?
Are you sure? I am positive. And I'm going to take a moment and say, if you want more draft content, I did a mock today on my personal Twitter, or on my personal YouTube. So I linked to that. You can go find that in my profile, which is up there. I'm going to do more. If I get more followers, I get more things. I'll do more work on that personal account. That'll be all things that I like, maybe some video games and nerd references as well. So I'm going to take that moment here, throwing in some other stuff. But let's get into the big thing. When we made our comment yesterday, we had a 10-second offhand comment that people really took exception to. And here's the thing. The reason, if Triston McKenzie isn't, I think he's done for the year. We'll see. But if he is not likely missing 4 to 6 weeks, then they probably
say that. Someone might come back and say you're wrong.
This one we have from the team that's 4 to 6 weeks. So I think if it was 1 start, 2 starts, if they thought he'd be back, we'd see Gaddis. But we don't know when Quantrell will be back. Zach
he's throwing in Arizona, I think, this coming week. So there's that.
So
that was part of my thinking too. Was that if Quantrell is due back in like a week or two, you're not going to go to Williams with Quantrell coming back to fill that spot, but it doesn't seem like Quantrell's that close yet.
Because then he takes McKenzie's spot, and you're back to a 5-man, and everything runs the way it runs. But we don't know when Quantrell will be back. This team is, by the way, when Williams starts tomorrow, that'll be the 11th starter of the year. It's mid-June. They're already up to 11 starters. And
won't be the last.
No, and like we'll probably see. I still think Cody Morris got sent down to get stretched out. We'll probably see him at some point.
There's so many TBDs in the Columbus rotation this week. So
all TBDs. Was my joke tweet today was, man, TBD is going to throw more pitches than the average Stanford starter.
Quinn Matthews, watch out! Someone's coming for your 158 pitch mark.
Yeah, that was still ridiculous. I don't call for a lot of coaches to be fired, but if you let a early 20-year-old kid throw 150 pitches, that's criminal. I'm still not going to call for him to be fired, but I'm going to call that criminal. But here's the thing. We didn't know the extent of McKenzie's injury. We thought, hey, they'll just cycle through, Quantrell will be ready, and this rotation keeps working itself out. With that announcement on McKenzie, with Quantrell, clearly whatever is bothering him, and he tried to pitch through it, he probably made it worse, and we don't know when he's going to be back. Beatonfield's still on the 60-day.
No news about him.
And I mean, the bigger overall issue is there aren't a lot of choices left. Like Cody Morris is getting stretched out now. Joey Cantillo is in triple. Joey Cantillo, I think, was the only pitcher listed on the Columbus rotation. Everything else is TBD. Yeah, Gaddis. And, Gaddis is a spot starter. He's not like more than that right now. I think he could still work as a reliever, but he's more of like a spot starter. And every guy, this is the right move. It's the right call. We just didn't have all the information. And like, we're on the press release. We got it. Shout out to every day or Nolan Dalek. I think I got his name wrong. Who at around noon my time was like, hey, I just saw Gavin Williams at the stadium. And I was like, oh, well, I was with my kid at a Mario Minute to Win It at the library because she's gotten obsessed with Mario, thanks to that movie. Nice. So I didn't see it. Yeah, we went straight from the Mario Minute to Win It to a library book club. And before that, we were at the park playing. So I did some tweet storms at lunch, and then I moved on. But it's one of those situations. Great. Gavin Williams is up. This is exciting. This is fun. We'll get into the pitch mix and all that. He is a guy who throws really hard. He's a first-round pick that has worked out for Cleveland, which has not been the case of late. The one thing I'll say too is like he's the first-round pick, the one first-round pick who has an ugly injury history that has so far been okay. You go back to Chase DeLauder, who might be getting his foot amputated. I don't know. He makes Adrianos Ilgauskas look like a guy with two left healthy feet. DeLauder hasn't played for a while with injury. Daniel Espino, we know the story there. And that's the other thing too. Like Espino's injury is an injury that kind of factors into all this, because Espino probably would have gotten chances before anyone if he hadn't been hurt. Yeah. So it's they're and the overall thing with this one again is there's not a lot of choices. Like you got Morris, you got Cantillo, you got Gaddis. After that, I mean, we talked about, man, there's so many starters. There's been so much pitching injuries, so many guys who didn't even pitch at all this year, that all of a sudden it's looking a little thin across the minors after looking like, oh man, they have like 6 to 7 guys at every stop. And now I'm like, do they got 6 to 7 guys across the upper minors who can start anymore?
I mean, that's what I was saying yesterday about Doug Nikhazy. Like his last couple starts have been encouraging. Like it's time to start thinking. You have to get excited about that because everything else has been bad. No Justin Campbell this year. Jack Leftwich has not bounced back this year very well.
DeLuca is also hurt. He didn't pitch at all this year.
Season. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, it's kind of a mess. I mean, Parker, for some reason, Parker. Okay, we're not really doing the minor league minute today, but with all this going on, somehow Parker Messick is still at low A. What is happening here?
I don't understand that. Like he is one of the most college pitchers in all of last year's draft. It's like, I guess because he's been good. He's been fine. It's not like he hasn't been spectacular.
Why shouldn't he be in high A? That's what I'm saying.
He's old for the level. It is odd.
It's so bizarre.
I know there's some, but that's, I just go through the minors right now, and it's the lack of, Trent Denholm was one of my top 30 prospects. It's been ugly for him. You can go through. We talked about Aaron Davenport.
7 walks today. You're talking about another. Okay, well, he's not graduating, but you've got Bo Naylor up now. You've got Gavin Williams coming up. So you've got a lot of your top prospects up. Like the only guys you're missing are Rocchio and Valera, basically at this point. If these guys all do graduate, you better hope they build the core of the next couple of years, because the rest of the minors isn't fantastic right now. I mean, the 2021 draft class looks solid because you got Bybee and Williams out of it, which that's going to be good. The rest of it, is still TBD. Just go back to, okay, I didn't want to get into this tonight because we wanted to get into the game and we wanted to get into Gavin Williams' pitch mix and scouting report and all that kind of stuff. But like I was just going back because I was tweeting that DeLauder hadn't played since June 12th and Carson Tucker hasn't played since June 15th. Like it's been 5 days for him. And
Carson Tucker's never going to play again. Like it just,
he might not make it to high A, but like, okay, go back 10 years, the draft class for 10 years. We did this earlier this year already.
Yeah.
Clint Frazier is actually playing okay right now in the majors for Chicago. Good for him. Mike Pappy out of baseball. Justice Sheffield out of baseball. Bradley Zimmer in the minors. Triston McKenzie probably headed for TJ. Brady Aiken out of baseball. Will Benson looks like he's filling some kind of role in Cincinnati. Good for him. Lenny Torres, not great. Ethan Hankins is shut down right now on the developmental list because he was having some.
Again, a guy with an injury record. Like as much as they think,
the injury
guys with, you go through the Brady Aiken, the Ethan Hankins, Spino, and that's DeLauder, and that's the scary with Williams. Like we'll see what happens with Williams. There is that degree of like he was off teams' boards because they didn't think he could hold up to the stress.
So you have his body. So Hankins is working on stuff on the side because things weren't going well for him. Bo Naylor's up, Espino's out for the year and half of next year. Tanner Burns he's fine. Like he's eventually going to be maybe 100.
I think he's a success story this year relative to all things pitching wise.
Agreed. Yeah. So he's eventually going to be a guy who could be a 6 starter. Tucker, we've said, not great. Williams is up. Campbell's not pitching this year, and DeLauder is out again. So like their first round picks over the last 10 years have been absolutely torrid. And I don't know whether to say that they are not great. They've like you said, they've targeted injury risk in the first round for whatever reason, for value. But it's also amazing on the other side of that coin, Jeff, that this team is, I mean, relative to the miserable AL Central, which, by the way, the Twins lost 10-0.
So yeah, Guardians are game out.
They're game out amidst all this crap. For as much as we are crapping on their first round picks the last 10 years,
the second round's worse.
Well, the second round's worse, but this is still a team that A, won their division last year, B, that for some reason is still hanging around the division this year, and C, still has a good minor league system somehow. Like, how do you misfire on all these first round picks? Well, and you said second round picks as well, and your farm system A is still good, and B, you're still competitive right now, and you've been competitive because you haven't had a pick higher than 12 since you haven't had a pick higher than 16. Last year was the highest that they've picked since 2015. So it's like, is that because they're so good at finding value further down the draft and developing and international, I guess? But like, I don't know whether to say like
one could also argue
they're really good at this. Like, I'm confused.
One could argue that it is that the reason they're so good is because A, they're slow playing all their hitters and they're building up this backlog of guys, or B, one could argue that all these prospects don't translate. Like, that outside of the pitching, I mean, they're hitting prospects. The translation rate on hitting, I mean, Nolan Jones is destroying baseballs right now. It'd be nice to have that 321, 404, 551, 956 slugging, 4 home runs. Like, their prospects have not panned out. It's like, we talked about these great prospects, and
they still have like a top 20 farms or top 10 farm system.
I don't know if they do after all their promotions. I don't know if they still are there.
The guys haven't graduated yet. Yeah, as I'm saying. But it's like, that's what I'm saying. So like, they've struggled at certain things draft wise, but they are still a good farm system. So it's like, so they are good at finding value later in the draft. They are good at developing, like the Bibees, who, he wasn't the first round pick, or I don't know, a Will Brennan or a Stephen Kwan, and then they go out and they find other teams' players that they can identify. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure whether to say that they're not good at this or if they're really good at it, because they're still doing this despite their first round picks being absolutely horrendous. We should move on here in just a second. Yeah, so we're going to come back. We'll talk about Gavin Williams' promotion. We'll talk about the game finally, and we'll talk about a couple of other things as well on the other side. If you are stressed out about finding any tickets to any games, I guess you're not going to be stressed out about finding Guardians Athletics tickets. You're not going to be stressed out about finding Athletics tickets, period. Sorry for them. We were kind to them yesterday, and today I'm being mean. So everybody else is mean to me today. So I'm just giving it right back. But browse through the Game Time app. They have flash deals and last-minute tickets on all of the events. You might be able to find Taylor Swift tickets. I don't know. Maybe if you're going to that concert, maybe you could find them there.
I don't think so. My sister went to Pittsburgh to do that, so I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe you can't find Taylor Swift tickets, but you can find tickets to just about everything else on Game Time. You can get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Get them in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and the tickets are all yours. They will be sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email, which I do a lot, wondering if I actually bought the tickets or not, because that's scary. So snag the tickets at the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
I'll take this moment to remind you, just use SiriusXM to listen to tomorrow's game. Type Guardians into your SiriusXM app, and it'll get you there. I do want to make one final thing about prospects. So I get a lot of questions about why Cleveland isn't turning shortstops into outfielders. And here's my theory. This offseason, we saw shortstops being devalued, and it's, for the most part, shortstops are not power hitters. Like, if you move a shortstop to the outfield, the offensive production, like Ahmed Rosario is a league average bat. You put him in left field, he's still a league average bat. You're looking for more than that. Now, Cleveland's outfield doesn't have anyone who's that. So it's, that's a struggle. But a lot of teams need outfield. And if you already have a shortstop, you don't necessarily want to trade for one. And I feel like in some respects, the shortstop position we're seeing be slightly devalued because the league's pretty good. The league has a lot of decent shortstops. And even teams like the Dodgers are sometimes willing to run out and punt it temporarily for a year. So I think in some ways, like a Brian Rocchio or even not necessarily Rocchio. He's a big enough prospect, but guys like Freeman, Arias are a little discounted. The guys that Cleveland has built up on, you need 3 outfielders, and you can get away with playing a guy out of position in the outfield. You need 1 shortstop, and you can't always play those guys anywhere else.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Cleveland has had a full infield this year of shortstops at one time or another, and yeah, you're looking when you move down the defensive spectrum. It works the same way with offense. That's why you can't play, Ahmed Rosario at first base, because it gets worse there. All right, should we move on to Gavin Williams and what to expect from him? So here's my thing. I think I've said this a couple times earlier this year on this show or my other podcast, which I haven't done in forever. So if you listen to that podcast, I apologize. Maybe you're happy I'm not talking as much. It's a heavy fastball mix, right? So that's the thing there. And that's fine, because his fastball gets a ton of induced vertical break. And essentially what that means is, if you're not familiar with that, is gravity doesn't take it as much as it normally does. I mean, when you throw a fastball down from the downhill plane of the mound, gravity takes its effect. It's just a natural thing. And because he gets so much induced vertical break, it kind of looks like it rises back up. It doesn't really. It's an illusion. But the batter makes it seem like the batter is seeing it that way. So that's why you see how a lot of his fastballs miss bats above the zone or above the bat instead of below it, unlike sinkers and cutters and things like that. So that's why it's a heavy fastball mix. The slider, I still think, is his best secondary. The curveball's good when he can back foot. It's a big curveball. But really, like I said before, for me, it is about fastball command, because that is his primary weapon, and his fastball command can be very spotty at times. Now, it's overpowering the AAA hitters, which is, good for them. And I guess easing him in against the Athletics is probably a good thing, because their offense is still better than the Guardians' offense, but it's still not good relative to the rest of the league. But if he doesn't command the fastball, then you've got to watch out, because he doesn't throw his secondaries a ton at the moment. And the slider can be good, but without fastball command, there's no reason for a hitter to worry about the slider all that much. And he's got to be able to prove he can back foot that big curveball to lefties. Changeup is, pretty underused for him, but it's, I don't know. What do you think? A 45, Jeff? Maybe a 40?
I put a 40. That's the old rule. Don't put 5s on unless you're feeling like really confident on it. I think it's a 40. I think it's just a show me pitch. You're going, he's kind of a,
it is. It's only a lefty. It's only a lefties anyway.
I don't want to say he's a 2-pitch guy. They're usable, but he's going to lean heavily on the other 2.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fastballs and sliders, but like I said, he's got to have fastball command, because if you don't command your primary pitch, which is his fastball, then hitters have no reason to care about your slider. But he's still an exciting prospect. He throws 97 to 100. He is hard to pick up. He's an intimidating presence on the mound because he's a big guy. He is a huge human. I shook his hand after talking to him last season in Lake County, and I've been told I have big hands. I don't realize I have big hands, I guess, but his hands were like twice the size of mine. So that's good. I think maybe he could play quarterback for the Browns too while he's at it. I don't know.
I'm going to stay quiet.
People love to talk about hand size when it comes to quarterbacks, so we're talking about it for a Guardians pitcher. But no, it's exciting. I mean, this is a good lineup to break him in against, and it should be well past the Super 2 deadline. Who knows how long he'll even be up if Quantrill comes back? Well, I don't know. That's a good question to ask, because I was having this debate with somebody on Twitter today about the innings building up on Allen and Bybee. And
I think he stays up. I think one of them goes down. I'll be honest. I think that it is likely Williams that stays, because he's past Super 2. And Allen and Bybee haven't been as sharp of late. So I think it's, especially if one of them is scuffling more, I would bet that Williams stays.
I had heard that with Bybee, they're working on something with his arm slot right now that kind of got shifted. I don't know. So Carl Wills is working with him on something arm slot related, but they're doing it at the major league level. The only thing I can think of, because I know we're going to catch flack for that, saying, they might send one of the prospects down, right? Because everyone's going to take that clip out of here and blow it up. But the debate I was having was, why waste bullets at the minor league level when this team really needs its pitching right now because of the offense, and if they're going to stay in the race, which is true. They need all these arms to be good, because that's the only way they're going to stay in the race with the way the offense is performing. I mean, They needed a massive error in left field and a walk-off hit to beat the Oakland Athletics on Tuesday night.
And Medina, we'll talk about that in segment 3, I guess. We're moving around over the list, but it's like Medina is terrible, and he shut this team down.
He did. So the only thing I can say about quote-unquote saving Bull to AAA is that if a guy like, let's say Logan Allen goes to AAA and Gavin Williams stays up, you're just trying to manage some innings here. You know, you want, in the major leagues, you're trying to win. So Allen might go 6 or 7 innings because you're trying to win the game, right? So you're pushing him to, 94 pitches. In AAA, you don't care if they win the game. Allen goes out there and he throws, 75 pitches in 5 innings. You're like, okay, you got your work in today. You're done. We don't care if we win. We're not going to push you to 90 pitches. We're going to, save you a little bit. And in theory, I know competitors have a hard time turning it on and turning it off because when you go out there, you're pretty much locked in. But when you've proven that you can get major league hitters out like Allen and Bybee have, you go back to AAA, even though you haven't struggled at the major league level a ton, you're going to be getting easier outs at AAA, so your innings are lower stress. You're not pitching. In theory, you may not be pitching as much with runners on, so you can manage their pitch counts and you can maybe expose them to some lower stress innings for a certain amount of time. So you're right. You could see Williams stay up for a couple of starts, and then when Quantrill comes back, maybe you bump one of those guys down to give them like a week or 2 breather where they're only going 5 innings, and you get them out after 70 pitches versus 95, and facing the Atlanta Braves, for instance, in 2 weeks from here when that gets tough. So I don't know. That's really just guessing, but I get in trouble for guessing on here these days. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's the fastball is what's exciting because velocity is exciting, but it's not just a dead velocity guy. Like he misses bats, he moves things around. There's reasons to be very excited for that pitch. It will be interesting because a lot of guys who are more of that 2-pitch mix. So Spencer Strider has essentially done that. Can he be Spencer Strider? That's what you're hoping for. You're hoping for Spencer Strider. That I think is kind of your high level outcome. That is, if we want to stick to the positive on it, I think you're hoping for Spencer Strider here. Former Guardians draft pick, Spencer Strider.
And for a long time before Houston got their hands and their sticky substances on him, Garrett Cole was not really much of a deep mix guy. He was mostly a fastball slider guy, and he has added the curveball and the changeup to his repertoire as the years have gone on too. So that's a similar profile as all right. Let's finally get into the Athletics game
and come back and talk about the game.
And on Wednesday night, you can check out Gavin Williams' first Major League start. If you are not able to get by a TV, search for the Guardians on your Sirius XM app. They will have the call for you at 7:10 with Tom Hamilton and Jim Rosenhaus. I'm sure Tom Hamilton will have some wonderful superlatives about Gavin Williams. He loves prospects, loves guys with big fastballs.
So random fun fact. Before we get into this game, I was kind of curious. I was pulling this up during the show. For Bo Naylor and Gavin Williams to crest into the top 10 draft picks in the first rounders in the history of this franchise, they'd have to pass Rick Manning, who's 10th. But at 9th, very shockingly, Drew Pomeranz, most successful. I mean, you got guys like Kelly Gruber in the top 10. There are a lot of people who remember Kelly Gruber, probably didn't know that he played for Cleveland. Jeremy Guthrie, by the way, still has the 3rd highest signing bonus in the first history of the first round, and that was 20 years ago.
Kelly Gruber the guy in Bad News Bears that we're talking about?
No, it's Kelly Leak. Kelly Gruber, 3rd baseman, Toronto Blue Jays.
Rule
5, another Rule 5 failure. This team, Trevor Stephan, greatest Rule 5 pick in franchise history. Second is Tom Wendell, who was the Scotsman. And there is no one else. Whereas you got Kelly Gruber and Anthony Santander and Hector Rondon, and I can just keep going. That's still going to always hurt my soul. But yeah, Chase DeLauder, by the way, highest first round signing bonus ever in franchise history. But Jeremy Guthrie, number 3, even though again 20 years ago, that's kind of mind boggling to me. But listen, the Guardians faced a anemic Oakland team that has been playing better of late, and
it's true. They have. They're not. Are they still the worst? Are they not? Are they still no longer the worst team in baseball?
I think it's Kansas City. Here's the thing. Like it was supposed to. I thought Medina was supposed to start originally, and then they went to Waldichuk. Medina has been. Has been 6 shades of terrible. And if you go past over his starts, 4 earned runs, only 1 walk against the Rays, 2 earned runs, 3 walks. 6-4, 7-3. Only 2 against Seattle. The point is, this guy's averaging a walk an inning. Cleveland managed 1 walk in this game. You got to get Luis Medina. Can't go 4. He's also extremely home run prone. You can't let him go 4 1/3 innings and just completely shut it down.
What's even more amazing is that they only swung and missed 7 times against him. He had 4 whiffs on the fastball to 24 swings, and every other pitch he threw had 1 whiff. Like, it wasn't like he was even missing bats. They just, I don't know, it wasn't a very patient approach. I know we're sitting on here kind of being negative when they won the game. I'm sure people get mad about that, but it's like
a terrible Oakland team. It took extra innings, and Seth Brown look like a little leaguer diving out there. Like, that was one of the most ill-advised goals. Like,
that's something I would have done. I got to be honest. Yeah,
it reminds me of like when they made fun of Michael Jordan. Like, I don't know. I've watched The Last Dance too many times because while I hated Jordan when I was a kid, now he's so wrapped up in my childhood. I kind of enjoy all things Jordan. It's like the ultimate nostalgia trick. And like those videos of him diving. By the way, Terry Francona, the manager of those Jordan teams that bring it back to Cleveland.
Speaking of that, we should, we're just going to pile on today. If you think we're being negative, I'm sorry. And that's the fault again. Where you think we're being negative, we are, I guess. But they're 1 game out of first place.
Yeah,
but it's not like you're sitting here saying this is something to be encouraged. Like, I don't know.
I will say this: like Aaron Savale, he had some bad pitches that got away from him, but it was just like a pitch or two. Like the home run, for the most part, you're like, this is a good
Tony Kemp. I mean, Miles Straw doesn't have a home run. Tony Kemp has 2.
Tony Kemp had the game of his life. What about, was it Jimenez that he made that over the shoulder catch?
Yeah.
Like, he had 2 hits, a home run. Like, if I was still doing my 3 stars of the game, I would give him 1. Like, that catch was awesome.
By the way,
he had himself a day. This was the Tony Kemp game, and his team lost because he plays for the Athletics. But like Savale was great. The bullpen came in and did their job. Eniel made me nervous because he's had some struggles of late. But I mean, look at that bullpen. The bullpen gave you 3 1/3 innings, and they allowed 1 hit, no walks, 1 base runner. What a job by the bullpen. Bo Naylor, rough day all around. He just, he looks like you brought him out of the oven a little early.
Interference,
2 strikeouts. He's going to struggle. They went out and got Zunino, and Zunino was terrible. And they're like, well, we might as well run with the young kid. It's going to be a work in progress. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, to use that old expression. Give him time. It's not always clean for development. I believe in Bo Naylor. Bo Naylor's going to be fine. He just wasn't quite ready, but he'll get there. But Miles Straw, again, he reached base twice in this one. His OPS is sneaking slowly a little bit higher. Jimenez with that massive hit at the end. And then, it was Freeman with the bunt.
But Oakland also misplayed, by the way.
Yeah. They did the Rosario thing. They went to third when it's like, oh, just go to first. Like, that was a bad call.
It wouldn't have mattered anyway.
It wouldn't have. But like they messed that up. But it was a great bump by him. Like, that was a fantastic job by Freeman. Getting things together. Ahmed Rosario had 3 hits. It's hot. It just takes Ahmed longer because due to climate change, we don't get warm as quickly. So Ahmed is suffering due to climate change and slower.
I think Ahmed should go to Jamaica. I'm just saying.
The same problem my strawberries have. They're just now starting to ripen out there about 2 weeks later because we haven't had consistent warmth. That's the problem Ahmed has. Ahmed and my strawberries, they mature at the same rate. That is the pull quote for this show. Just Ahmed's a strawberry. When the strawberries start coming in, Ahmed starts hitting.
No stolen base attempts tonight, too. FYI, just gonna throw that out there again.
Yeah, and that
Ruiz, by the way, is 37.
Yes, and how about the fact that Miles Straw has 10? Yeah. Stephen Kwan has 12. Ahmed has 8, and that's your top 3.
The steal by Ruiz too. I'm not even gonna blame on Naylor because Hench. He was taking off anyway. I don't even know if I can blame Hench. It's just Ruiz just took off, but that was not. Yeah.
Why? For instance, I got really annoyed. It didn't, thanks to Seth Brown, it didn't kill him. But it's like when Straw was on first, why isn't he running all the time? I don't know how Shane Langoliers is, but I don't think he's
got a good arm.
Good, but like if I go back to his college report on him, it was like he is a bat first catcher. He is not he has a good arm, but he's not a great defender back there. Not great in movement.
Well, same with Naylor. That's the thing.
It's like
Naylor's not up here to give you plus defense. He's up here to hit.
Why are you not running on him? is my thing. Like, unless I'm wrong, let me know. I mean, this is my Baylor scouting report. All those Baylor prospects: Nick Lofton, Wenzel Davis,
had a good arm.
Sean Davis he has a good arm, but I just felt like the footwork wasn't always great with him, and maybe it got better. That's one of those things can get better. But run a little more. They were able to kind of get lucky, and not lucky. I mean, they faced a bad team and they had timely hitting, and that's the thing we haven't seen this year. They had 10 hits.
That was
only 10 hits, 3 walks. If I use, and wasn't there a hit by, Jimenez got hit, of course. So they had 14 base runners in this game. By my little metric, that's typically closer to 5 runs. They got 3. They underperformed a little overall. I mean, they even had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doubles, and they only turned it into 3 runs. It's kind of crazy. Like, they should have had more runs. The offense did enough to get by, but you hope for more. Player of the game, though, 100% Tony Kemp in this one. Or Seth Brown if you're a Guardians fan, because boy, was that a
I think Seth Brown wants to go find a hole and dive under right now. I would too. Do we even want to get into the decision to pinch hit for Bo Naylor in late in the 8th inning or the 9th inning?
I know they then immediately. That's the second time this year this happened where they did the pinch hit and then the other team switched out and
David Fry was completely overmatched. I mean, Fujinami has great stuff. That's another guy who can't find the strike zone.
Yes.
That guy has no idea where the ball is going, but he has electric stuff. And David Fry was 100% overmatched. But it's like, okay, I understand. Someone else commented the other day saying that Bo Naylor is not bad against lefties. He's not good against lefties.
You want to protect him.
His OPS is good because he walks. He doesn't really hit lefties. He walks, and that's fine. That's a skill that you like that he can.
But walk rate doesn't always translate. That's not.
It doesn't always translate. Yeah, and he's you're major league lefties, and let's not count Oakland here because Oakland doesn't have a whole lot of major league lefties. They traded.
I like Ken Waldichuk.
That's fine.
Sam Moll's okay. Sam Long,
didn't see him.
Long's good.
Okay, Bo Naylor didn't see Waldichuk anyway. So.
And I think I understand the logic. I can't get mad about that. Like, to me, I understand the logic.
But you knew as soon as you announced Fry, they were going to go to a righty.
Yeah.
And
no, I know.
I understand wanting to protect Naylor against lefties because, again, all he does, he doesn't really hit them. He walks. And that's a fine skill to have to survive. It's a survival skill. It's not really a hitting skill. If you look at the numbers, he's not actually hitting them. He's walking, which is the same thing Nolan Jones did, which, by the way, Nolan Jones and Will Benson both had home runs on Tuesday night just to stab in the back a little further.
2011 draft picks. Not 2011.
2016.
2016. That 2016 class produced a lot of talent.
Still going really good, and most of it not for the Guardians. So I mean, I still would rather have Naylor see what happens there because.
No, I agree.
The same thing that same outcome would happen, and look, the next thing it didn't burn them, but I think didn't David Fry have a pass ball the next?
Yeah, he had a pass ball the next inning. So it's like for Bo Naylor's issues, there was also the pass ball.
I mean, Cam Gallagher is the only guy back there you feel good about defensively right now.
Yeah, he doesn't have an arm, so it's not like it's. There was a really interesting piece with Travis Sawchuk, and I know we're running out of time, but like Pittsburgh and the value of Hedges and Delay. Now, neither of them are very good, but you can get plus defense for really cheap prices, and there might be more value in that because there is, there's almost no offensive upside catchers in baseball. So if you can't go for elite offense, then just punt it and go for elite defense. I didn't read the article. I read parts of it, and I feel like that was I didn't have time to read the whole thing. But
like you said yesterday, Sean Murphy or bust, right? That was pretty much what it was.
And Ruiz, again, like, look at it. I can't necessarily argue with that choice. Like, he's been solid, 37 stolen. He is such an Oakland type of guy. Same reason that I just keep putting Bradfield there in every single mock. But I mean, look at him over the course of this year. He's got an 833 OPS. No, that's not right. He's got a 666 OPS. That was his OPS for the game. He's average-ish, but he's stealing 37 bases. He's playing good defense, and he'll
get better too.
Yeah.
And so will Bo Naylor. Bo Naylor will get better. He's eventually going to have a hit at some point.
What I think the rule has to be before they leave town that they got to tie up and refuse to allow Ryan Noda to leave. Right? That's the plan.
Or Brent Rooker. Yeah, I would say Brent Rooker, or just.
I mean, Noda is I know he's another lefty.
Take Seth Brown with you everywhere you go and force the other team to put him in left field every game you play.
Yeah. I will say the one thing about Ryan Noda is go back. The reason I'm a little bit higher on him than Rooker, and I should look up Rookers, but like Ryan Noda, like he is the classic like guy that I scream teams should take a chance on. 5 seasons in the minors and 894 OPS. That is the guy you want to run with. Is the guy who just all he did was murder baseballs. And good on Oakland. They gave up that Jesus Aguilar thing. Yeah,
you're wrong.
No, I'm wrong. Oh, yeah. It's why we talked about off air. Washington Nationals should make a ton of trades and do a lot to help their rebuild go along. Oakland should be considering the same. And I think these are some smart rebuild moments. And we'll talk about some trade stuff. I did tease today on Twitter that my favorite trade target was someone you told me I was wrong about. So that fits our theme.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Mm-hmm. But we want to thank you all for rating and reviewing, downloading. It helps. Moving Target said he's a 4 times a day, every day. So I don't know where you're listening, how you're doing it, but that's dedication. I appreciate that. I already gave a few other shout outs to our everydayers. Thank you for being part of the team. Remember to download daily, listen, like, subscribe. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.